Did you start?
Yes,
Okay.
we started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben, and this is our monthly STEM meeting where we talk about a variety of different things, just do some really cool experiments and just have fun and learn little bit while we do it. So I've got two helpers here today. This is Beatrix. How old are you?
7.
And this is
Imogen.
and how old are you?
5.
All right. So I'll be showing some experiments and you guys can ask questions, either type in the chat or just shout them out, whatever you guys want to do. And we'll just learn about some different things. So today our theme is on structures. So who knows what a structure is? I know that's kind of a complicated word. Do you guys know what a structure is, or can you think of an example of a structure?
Tell me about your structure.
Like it.
In the backyard.
It's more a structure house.
Yeah, Daddy made you a structure house, huh?
Yeah, a house is a structure. We're all living in a structure right now, right? What are some other types of structures?
A building's a structure. Like
A building?
A base? The structure needs a base.
Yep. So structure is anything that you take smaller pieces, put them together to form something bigger, right? So like for a house, you're putting walls up, you have a foundation, a base, all that stuff. So that's what we call a structure. There's all different kinds of structures, so many different kinds. And we're going to talk about one specific kind of structure today. We're going to talk about buildings and bridges and things like that. So physical structures. So before we talk about that, so it's a good question. So physical structure means like something that you actually see or you build, something that you might build. So we want to talk about two other things before we get into our experiments. We want to talk about something called a force and something called a load. So what is a force? Have you guys ever heard that term before?
Something pulls something else down.
Yeah, so Imogen said something pulls something else down.
Force and gravity.
Gravity, that's a really good one. That's a really important one for what we're going to talk about today. What about you, Julian? Can you think of any types of forces?
Like a force is like when something's pushing against another thing like this.
Yep, so that's an example of a force. So a force, and like just a very general definition, is anything that happens, so any interaction, when two things interact with each other, that if something goes unopposed, so if you're not pushing back, then it's going to cause a change in the motion of that object, right? So you can make something move with a force. That's really what a force is doing, is trying to make something else move. So when I push Imogen gently, she wants to move to the side, right? So now push back against me, lean in against me. So now if I push and she pushes back, she's using a force to push back against me. Okay, stop. Okay, so those are the different kinds of forces. Same thing with what you were showing, Julian. You were pushing with one hand and then with the other. Stop. Okay, so you push these together and you have a force. So what is a load? What do you think a load is? So now we're going to talk about forces that are specific to structures. So what would be a load?
I strike loads up with wood.
I'm not sure. With wood? Maybe. What have you guys ever heard a term of load? So a load is a force applied to a structure. So it's a force that's acting on a structure. So what are some forces you guys can think of that are pushing on your house or acting on your house? What are some things that happen to a playhouse in the backyard or the house that you live in, or a big skyscraper? What are some things, some different forces that are acting on, or some loads?
Wind?
Wind is a really good one. Sebastian, you already said one of them that's really important. What was the one you said, Sebastian?
Force and gravity.
Gravity, right. So these structures, they're being loaded by the weight of the structure and everything that's inside of them. So right now we're sitting inside our house. We're a load on our house, right? We're pushing down on our floor and our floor needs to support us. So our structures have to support these loads. If they didn't, then they wouldn't be very good structures, right? They would just be collapsing. And we're going to talk about that and do some experiments about how loads affect structures and how some structures are better than others at carrying those loads. Do you guys think of any other loads? There's actually one really important one for California, for where we live. It's another type of load that we have to worry about here in California. We've actually felt a couple of these somewhat recently.
Earthquakes.
Earthquakes.
Earthquakes, right. So we have earthquakes here sometimes, hopefully not big ones, but we want to make sure that our houses and our buildings, that they can withstand that load from the earth shaking underneath them. All right, so today we're going to do, I think, 5 different experiments. And we're going to talk about structures in different ways. The first thing we're going to talk about are sand castles and sand structures. Has anybody raise your hand if you built a sand castle? Have you ever built a sand castle, Sebastian? All right, so we're going to talk about building a sand castle. But the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take ping pong balls. So I've got, I'm going to take 4 ping pong balls. Sorry for the noise. All right, so I've got 4 ping pong balls here. So you guys know what sand is made up of? What is sand made up of? I'm going to slide my microphone just aside so you guys can see. What is sand made up of?
What?
Little tiny little rocks and little pieces of glass, even really small little particles, right? So now I'm going to pretend like these are much bigger little particles of sand, right? So it's the same thing. You look at sand, there's these little fine tiny rocks, but instead we have bigger balls. But this is kind of, if you had a microscope and could zoom in, maybe this is what a grain of sand would look like. So what I want to do is I want to take these ping pong balls, I'm going to put 3 together, and I want to try to stack them up. So I have a base of 3, and I'm going to put 1 here right at the top. Do you guys think I can do it? So I've got 3 ping pong balls here, and I want to put 1 on top. What do you think is going to happen when I put it down?
It'll drop.
It's going to drop. So everything's going to go everywhere. Let's try it. Okay, let's see if it makes a lot of noise with ping pong balls. So I'm going to put it very carefully on top. You can see, and it started to roll away. All right. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to help trying to keep these things together. So I'm going to take some water. I'm going to put the ping pong balls in water. I'm going to get them a little bit wet. Yeah, it's wet. Put those 2 in. Careful. A little splash. All right. So now I'm going to do the same thing. What do you guys think is going to happen? You guys think anything different will happen? Or are they still going to separate and go apart? Okay, so now they're wet. I'm going to put this ball on top and let's see what happens very carefully. What happened? They all can stay together.
And the water actually grew.
So what do you guys think happened? So they were wet, now they stay together. Why do you think that happened?
I think it happens because the water kind of acts as like a temporary glue.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's something called. Yeah. Go ahead, Julian. Yeah. Keep going.
So it sticks it together.
Yep. So there's something called surface tension of water. Have you guys ever filled a glass all the way up to the top with water, to the very, very edge? If you look really closely, you can try this later. You get a nice little dome on top. So the water wants to stick together, wants to be next to other pieces of water. So when I do that, this water kind of acts like a glue, and I keep it together, and it keeps the balls together. Now so I'm going to shift over. So I've got some sand here. Let's see how this works with actual sand. Did you watch out, buddy? Okay. So I've got a couple different kinds of sand. Can you get me a big thing of paper towels? I'm gonna use paper towels just to stop it from, this is just a cookie sheet. All right, so I already got a little pot filled with sand. This is dry sand. Okay, have you guys ever tried to make a sand castle out of dry sand with no water? Is it make a good sand castle? So let's try. I'm gonna dump it and I'm gonna see how well it stays together. And I'll see if we can sit anything on top of it. Ready? All right, you can maybe see what happened already. I'll lift it up. So did that make a very good castle? No, it went everywhere, right? Okay, so now we're gonna try something a little bit different. So this is wet sand here. I'm trying not to get sand everywhere. I'm gonna scoop it and fill it up, and then we're gonna see if anything different happens. Pack it in. This is a good activity to do outside, not in front of the computer, just because I feel like we're gonna get sand all over the room, but that's okay. So a vacuum cleaner, so forth. All right, so I've got wet sand and I packed it in there. Okay, now I'm gonna flip it over. What do you guys think is gonna happen this time? Is it gonna work better?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it. Okay, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna dump it over real quick. Still fell a little bit. Look at that. Looks better, right? Look good? All right. So this wet sand is doing the same thing as the ping pong balls, right? So it's putting those little grains of sand are being held together by the water. So we're gonna do one more experiment. What's something that you think we could do to make this even stronger and better? Just gonna spread that out. So anything you guys can think of? So when I press down on a pile of sand, what happens? What's going to happen to this? What are you saying? Go.
He said glue. You could put glue in it to make it stronger.
You could put glue in it. That's a really good idea. If you put glue in it instead, it would make it nice and strong. We're going to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to take paper towels. I'm going to rip them up into some little parts, maybe a little bit bigger than that, just little sheets of paper towel. And we're going to layer it. Okay. So watch out. So I'm going to put a little scoop of sand in here. I'm going to pack it down a little bit. Then I'm going to take just a piece of paper towel and I'm going to sit it down inside. So you can see right in there, I've just sat it right down inside. I'm going to put a little more sand on top of it. We're going to do this a couple more times. And then we're going to do an experiment to see how much our piles of sand can actually hold. Okay. One more. Now we're going to actually try to rest some books on top of our piles here. And we're going to see which one does better. Oh, do one more. All right, we got one more in there. Let's do a smaller one so it fits in. Doesn't come over the sure, a couple small ones. So again, I'm just layering paper towel one after another. Going to kind of pack it down there. All I'm at is paper towel. Is paper towel very strong? Can you rip paper towel easily? All right, so I'm going to press down. All right, here we go. So now I'm going to flip it over next to it. Watch out, move your hand. Try to do it quickly. All right, there's my pile. Okay, I've got two piles. Can you guys see those? You can actually move the, I'm going to adjust the camera and point it down at the desk a little bit more here. All right, so now, how many books do you guys think that these could hold? How many books? So I've got books here. Not real big, right? How many books do you think this one could hold? You guys think one book before it starts to collapse? Maybe two books? Let's start with one, okay? I'm going to put it very gently on top. Not too bad. Wait, no, Beatrice, wait. Let's keep adding books here and see how many it can hold up. This is kind of a balancing thing here. I'm going to try to put them on nice and carefully. What's happening? Is it starting to collapse? Keep adding books. So we're up to 4 books. 5 books. Oh, here's a heavy one. Harry Potter, big book. All right. It fell apart. Okay, so we had 5 books, and then at the Harry Potter book, it started to break down. All right, so let's try this one, okay? Do you guys think this one will hold more or less? These guys say more. Should we try it? Oh, that's looking pretty good so far. There's 2 books. 3 books. This is difficult to balance. 4 books. 5 books. Do you guys think it'll hold up the Harry Potter book? Let's see if I can do it very gently. It's squishing. There you go. Still holding. It's compressed a little bit, but it's still going. So let's see if we can hold up it. Should I keep going? This is all going to collapse. Still going. Oh, I'm going to run out of books here in a second. Okay,
He only has 2 more books.
I've got 2 more books. It's starting to tilt. All right, now I've got a really heavy one. This is one of Mei Ling's library books for learning how to become a librarian. Let's see if this is the one that topples it. It's shaking. It's still holding.
That's so many books.
Yep, there's Imogen. Okay, watch out. All right, so I think we're gonna stop there just because I'm afraid that's gonna fall over and go all over the place. And you can see, so let's look at the difference here.
This one's harder than this one.
So you guys can see that they've both been smashed a little bit, but this one's still good and it's still supporting, right? Still have a little bit of structure there. So what do you guys think is happening? Anybody have any idea what happened when I added those paper towels, why it became so much stronger?
Because there's no way for the books to rip the paper. And also the paper acts as a kind of stronger layer to the sandcastle, so it won't fall, it won't squish as easy.
Yep. What about you, Sebastian? Does that sound good?
That's right.
Yep. So what happened when I put those layers is exactly what we're talking about. You basically increased the friction or the agreement, or the connection of the sand particles within these different layers. So you've created this layered structure that allows it to push down and it doesn't fall off to either side. So something as simple as that is creating these layers makes it that much stronger. Did you stop, buddy? Is that cool? All right, so next time you go and build a sandcastle at the beach, maybe you can take some paper towel or just something. If you want to make a really strong one to impress people, you can do something like this. And actually, a lot of the bridges and the overpasses that you see when you're driving on a road and you're going up a ramp to get on the highway, it uses this kind of structure, right? This layered structure where it keeps things, it builds up more and more dirt, does these layers and makes it really strong. All right, so I'm going to move all this to the side and then we're going to move to a different experiment. All right.
This one's going to be yellow.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about shapes and how they're can be used to build really strong structures. All right, I've got sand everywhere, inevitably. All right, so who knows what this is? It's an egg, right? So we're going to think about how strong an egg is. Have you guys ever cracked an egg? Yeah, cracked an egg. Okay, so I'm going to take this egg and I'm going to squeeze. I'm going to give one to Beatrix and Imogen. So what I want you guys to do is take your 2 fingers, top and bottom. I want you to press as hard as you can, top and bottom. So you guys can try this later. I'm pressing as hard as I can, and I can't break the egg. Okay, now I'm going to try something different. I'm going to put it in my hand. I'm going to wrap my hand around it. I'm going to squeeze as hard as I can. I'm squeezing really hard. You guys squeezing as hard as you can?
That's it.
It's not breaking at all. So this shell of the egg, even though we can crack it, so if you put it, if I were to hit it against the table, it would crack. Don't do it. If I were going to hit it against the table, it would crack. But when I try to put pressure all around it or in 2 of the top and the bottom, I cannot break that egg. There's nothing I can do. I'm squeezing as hard as I can. I just can't do it. What shape? So if I just look at the top of an egg, what shape is that? What shape is that? You guys know the name? Go, sorry.
A circle on the computer for me.
It's the what? A circle on a computer. Yeah. So let me hold it a little bit closer.
Kind of like
Very
an
bright.
oval.
Sorry, the light is very bright. What do you call that? Maybe I'll show this side.
Oval or I'm not sure.
Oval.
Yeah, so this is like, so it's an oval. It's also, have you guys heard the term dome before? Have you ever heard of a dome or an arch? Yeah, you have a dome. So it's an arch, right? It creates this arch. So when I press on the top and the bottom, this dome and these arches at the top basically take that force and they spread it all over the shell so it's nice and strong. And we're going to demonstrate exactly how strong it is right now. All right. So we're going to take 4 eggs. So actually these are tape holders. You just need something to sit the egg upright. Beatrix almost cracked one. We're going to take these 4 eggs, but evenly apart, and then we're going to take this cutting board and stick it across, lay it nice and flat. How many books do you guys think this is going to hold up? Hold on 1 second. Did you that? You think it'll hold up a lot?
Like 20?
20? All right. Beatrix, leave that stuff. Beatrix, leave that stuff. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and do this. All right, so it holds up a lot of books, right? So we're going to actually do something a little bit different here. And we're going to have Imogen stand on this board. I'm going to put it on the floor and I'll move the camera so you guys can see it, okay? We'll see how this works. So I'm going to take this exact same setup. I'm going to move it to the floor and Imogen's very carefully going to stand on it. You guys think it will hold up, Imogen? Imogen, how much do you weigh?
I don't know.
She doesn't know, but it's probably 40-ish pounds. Okay, hold on 1 second. I know you guys can't see anything. I'm gonna move this camera. There's our dog. He's sniffing it out. Hold on, no, don't stand on it yet. Beatrix, can you come here? Beatrix. Beatrix, come here. Beatrix, come here.
I don't know.
Come here. Can you hold the camera here? Beatrix, just hold the camera just like this, okay? Sorry, it's a little shaky, but we're just gonna try this experiment. All right, hold on, don't stand it yet. Beatrix says it's not on one of the eggs. We wanna make sure it's on all the eggs before she stands on it. And one of our eggs is a little, there we go. Let's sit them upright. Just wanna make sure Imogen is supported.
I don't want to see.
All right, I'll sit you on top of it. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this works. Don't move around, okay? Put your feet straight down. Here's Imogen.
I cracked.
What crack?
My own no. Don't.
Yeah, we should pick your dog up. Okay, let's put the camera back.
Milo, don't eat the egg.
Bubba, can you kick him up?
Milo, no.
I got it.
No right.
All right. Keep close, Corby. Okay, that was an experiment. To be honest, I was just, so it can hold a lot of books when you do 4 eggs, right? It clearly cannot hold an Imogen. If you guys want to try that at home, we did make a mess on the floor, which we'll clean up later. So be careful if you try it. But
Do it outside.
do it outside, yeah, or do it on top of something. But an egg, something as simple as 4 eggs, can hold up a lot of weight. What do you guys think we could have done to support Imogen? What could we have added?
Bugs.
Books? Yeah, we could have just that's probably what we should have done, was just books. In our practice earlier, we just did books, but I didn't think it was very exciting because it can hold a lot of books. So I thought we'd try Imogen. But what could we have done to support Imogen's weight? Well, if it wouldn't support you, it wouldn't support Beatrix. But we could have put in, what do you think, Julian? What could we have done differently?
More stuff under?
More eggs? Yeah, more.
Yeah, I think if there were more eggs,
Yeah.
some would still crack, but more of the weight would be dissipated. So
Yeah,
I think if more eggs, it probably has a better chance.
I think so. So I think that was probably the key. So we now know from our experiment that it takes more than 4 eggs to hold up an Imogen. What just happened? It takes more than 4 eggs to hold up Imogen. Maybe 6 eggs would have been better. What do you think? All right. Anyway, so this dome shape is really strong, right? It really supports things well. Okay, so let's think about that. Let's move to another experiment, which will not involve eggs and won't require me to clean up later. All right, so we're gonna talk about bridges. I'm gonna put these to about that distance apart. I'm just putting some paper towel on top so it doesn't slip. So I want to build a bridge between these sets of books, and all I've got are pieces of paper. What do you think I can do? Can you get some of those? Hold on, let me get some blocks. We're gonna see what we can do to support. All right, okay. What are some things I can try? Should we just start with one piece of paper and see what happens? So I'm gonna lay that piece of paper. What do you guys think will happen when I put a block on it? What do you guys think will happen? Think it's gonna fall? Let's try it. Ready? That was not good. All right. What shape did we just learn was really strong? An arch or a dome, right? So what I'm gonna do, what if I do this? I'm gonna put a dome right there in the middle, and then I'm gonna put this piece of paper on top of it. What do you think is gonna happen now? Do you think it'll support any of these blocks? I see a head nod from Sebastian. There you go, it supports one of them. Beatrix can put another one on top, but not two. All right, so it's better, right? So that support helps. What are some other things I could do? What do you guys think? Any other shapes or ways that I can change the paper? What if I fold it up? So I made it to kind of an accordion here. I know that appears very bright in the camera, but made this accordion shape. So I'm going to lay this across, and I'm going to put these across here. Do you think it's going to hold more than one? Let's start putting them on there. There's 1, 2, 3. See how many we can do. That's 3, 4, 5. I don't know if you guys saw that I was moving. Started to collapse. It fell to its side, but it's still holding up. So let's count. So it held 8 blocks. All right, so if this shape is better, what do you guys think is better about this? What happened when I folded them up?
What shape did that make?
M.
An M?
Makes it M, or if I just take half of it, what shape is it? If I put them side by side. This is 2 of what shape? Sorry, I'm trying to get it right with the camera here.
Triangle.
Good, Sebastian. Yep, it's 2 triangles. So this triangle looks like it's a pretty strong shape, right? So I've got another piece here. So I put these triangles in again. You can see I put a bunch of these, but I fold it in the opposite direction. So I'm gonna put these a little bit closer, and I'm gonna lay it across like that, okay? So now I've laid it in the opposite direction. You think this is gonna work well? So they're still triangles, but they're in the opposite direction. All right, let's try it. Uh-oh. All right, so that triangle is a really strong shape because what a triangle does, it distributes the load down the sides of it. But the problem is that how that load was not in the same direction as I was laying the bridge. So what I'm gonna do is, I think this is gonna be our strongest option yet. So I put a whole bunch of triangles in this one, and I'm gonna lay it in the right direction here. And we're gonna see if we can beat 8. Hold on. Let's see if we can beat 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's keep them in the middle. 7, 8. We're still going. We're getting very tall and skinny here. They might just fall over on their own. All right. So what do you think happened? Why am I able to put so many blocks on here? What's the difference between that one and where's the other one? I lost it. The other one with fewer, this one. What's the difference between these two? This one had more triangles, right? Think that's why this is stronger? Yep. So the more triangles, should I keep going until it collapses? Should we see how many you can do? Let's move these to the side here. You guys think I could actually put a book on here? All right, let's see if I can put a book on. Oh, that it goes. Supports, then it makes it that much stronger. Have you guys ever looked at a cardboard box, like really closely at the layers of a cardboard box? What's inside of the layers of a cardboard box, of a piece of cardboard?
Triangles.
Triangles, right? So it's what we call corrugated. This is a corrugated shape. It's lots of little triangles that are folded up like this and then placed between two layers. And it's really super strong. Is it hard to bend a cardboard box? It is pretty hard, right? I mean, you can still bend it, but it's actually a pretty rigid structure. So that's inside the cardboard box, okay? All right, so we know what shapes at this point do we know are strong? What are some strong shapes that we've talked about?
Domes.
Domes, yep, that's one. What's another strong shape? What do you think, Sebastian?
Triangle.
Triangles, yep. So domes and triangles we've seen are really strong. Have you guys ever looked at a bridge? What are some shapes that you see in a bridge? Like a bridge that you drive over or that goes over a lake? What are some of the shapes you guys see? If you haven't seen them, next time you go over a bridge, really pay attention and see if you see any arches or domes or triangles. Okay, see if those are used to support these different structures. All right, so we have one more experiment to do, which will be something for you guys to do at home. I'm going to move everything to the side. I'm just making more and more of a mess at this point. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, so here I've got a bunch of marshmallows, and there's actually a lot of marshmallows missing because I think the kids have been eating them. But so I've got toothpicks and marshmallows, and I want to build a structure out of toothpicks and marshmallows. So I'm going to put one together real quick. I'm going to put together a square and a triangle, and we're going to see the difference between the two. Do you want to do the triangle? Beatrix is going to do the triangle for me. I'll show you, hold this up in just a second here. All right, so I've got this square here, right? It's got 4 marshmallows, 4 toothpicks. If I put it down like this, what do you think is going to happen if I press on the top of this? It starts to twist and wiggle, right? It's not very stable at all. So do you think this is a good shape for me to keep building a marshmallow tower out of? Probably not. So what about this? So now Beatrix has put together a triangle with 3 toothpicks and 3 marshmallows. So now if I take this and I press down on top of it, it's not twisting or moving at all, is it? Why do you think that is? What's happening when I press on this top marshmallow? Where does the load go? So my load is my finger. I'm pressing down. Where does that load go? What do you think?
Sticks.
Onto the sticks.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it goes down each of these sticks to my nice firm base that's here, right? So I press down and it doesn't twist at all. So Beatrix is building another shape, which she's almost done with. All right. So out of marshmallows, she has built a, what shape is this?
Red.
What did you say, Sebastian?
A pyramid.
Right. So this is a pyramid, right? So it's got 1 at the top and 3 at the bottom. And every way I turn it, there's a triangle, right? So it's a whole bunch of triangles I put together into a shape. So now when I press down on top of that, it's nice and strong, right? So if I wanted to build a really big structure in a tall tower out of marshmallows and toothpicks, do you think I should use squares or triangles? Triangles, right? Okay, so earlier, we actually did a little construction project. Let's get that over. So I've actually, instead of marshmallows, I've cut up gummy worms, right? So a whole bunch of little pieces of gummy worms. So this is actually kind of sticky, but I put all these gummy worms together, and it's actually 6 of these guys all put together, right? So I can lay something on top of it. And I want to see how much I can support. So all I've got here are toothpicks and pieces of gummy worm. So you guys think I can stack books on top of this? How many books do you think? Let's see if, so I've got 10 books here. Do you guys, how many out of the 10 do you think it can hold up before it collapses? What do you think, Sebastian?
Go ahead.
1,000.
1,000. Well, let's see. I don't know if I have 1,000 books, but let's see how far we can make it. What about you, Julian? How many books do you think it can hold up? 10. Okay, Julian says 10. So I'm going to have to do this nice and carefully. So I've got. Oh, it's moving a little bit. It's holding up 1. It's a good start. This is a very heavy book. Let's do a slightly lighter one. Part of it is just getting the balance right on this. It's 2 books. Still going. 3 books. Is it moving at all? I don't think so. I'm going to save the Harry Potter books for last, just because I don't know if I trust it can carry that weight. We're up to 5 books. It's not moving too much yet. 6. Now we're just have heavier books left. Uh-oh. All right. Took 6 books. Let's see how it collapsed though. So look, it started to collapse, but it actually went right back into shape. So it's actually just the gummy worms were kind of bending and adjusting, but it's actually still in pretty good shape. I think I could actually put more books on top of there. You have this nice firm base, right, out of these triangles. So there's 2 things that you guys can try at home, 2 different things. One is that you can make a base like this and see how many of your own books you can support. So you can use marshmallows and toothpicks, that's fine. The other, so like what Beatrix is doing here, how tall of a tower can you build out of toothpicks and marshmallows? So if I start with just one little base here, how big can I go up? And what Beatrix has done here actually is really interesting. She's already started to put together a whole bunch of triangles and marshmallows. So if she keeps building this, and maybe she can keep working on that while we're talking here. She can keep building up and up and up by keep adding to those triangles, right? So I think we're getting pretty close to the end for today. But let's kind of go back over what we talked about. So do you guys remember what a structure is?
A house.
A house, good. Yep, something like a house is a structure. So a structure is something that's made up a bunch of smaller parts to form something much bigger, right? So actually, your body could be a structure because it's made up of a bunch of tiny little cells, things like that. But today we talked about what we call physical structures, like buildings and bridges, things like that. What is a force? You guys remember what a force is? So a force, what do you think, Julian? What's a force?
Something pushing against another thing.
Yep, something pushing against another thing. So something that a force is an action that we take on something else to get it to move or adjust. And what's an example of a force? Sebastian, you remember the good one you gave us?
What was the force you told us?
Push. Push.
Push is one.
Push.
Yeah.
A push.
You,
What thing makes things fall down?
Force and gravity.
yep. So gravity is a really important one. And gravity is actually one of the biggest ones we're worried about when we're talking about structures. So now if we talk about load, so load is a force put onto a structure. We had some really good examples of that. So we had wind, we had earthquakes, gravity, all of those are really important. So what was the one we were dealing with here in a lot of our experiments? What was the main force in the load that we were worried about? When Imogen crushed those eggs, what force was she putting on them? What was pulling her down? What force pulls her down? It's gravity, right? So that force of gravity gave Imogen weight, and that's what crushed those eggs. And same thing here, I kept adding books, and those books are heavy because of gravity is pulling them down and pulling them into our structure and eventually causing them to collapse. So we have structures, we have force, and we have loads, all very important things. So what shapes did we talk about that are really, really good at handling loads, at taking loads and making sure they don't break? What are some shapes we talked about?
Triangle.
Triangles, good. That's a really important one. What else? What other shapes, Julian?
Squares.
We have arches and domes, right? Those were very important ones as well. So now when you guys are driving around or go inside of a house or a big building, you should look around and see what shapes you see, right? So in some older buildings, you'll see big domes, like in old churches and things like that. You see these big domes that are made. You see arches under bridges. You see triangles everywhere. So these are all shapes that we use to support the different structures we have and to make sure things don't fall down. But one easy experiment that's not messy and doesn't require you to clean up eggs on the floor is to go ahead and get some toothpicks, cut up some gummy worms or some marshmallows. Here's Beatrix's shape. You can see she's getting it up there nice and high, still going, nice and sturdy. She has so many different triangles built into her shape here, and she's building it nice and strong. So if you guys want, you can see how big of a and tall of a structure. And then Mailing, can they post somewhere, maybe take a picture of it and send it in or post it on Facebook, something like that?
Yeah, you can post it on our Facebook page or tag us on Instagram and we'll see it that way. We can repost it or take a look at them.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see how tall of a structure you can build or take a picture of something you've built out of toothpicks and gummy worms and marshmallows and showing me how many books it's holding up, all that would be, I'd love to see that and see what you guys are able to build. Does that sound good? All right, thanks Sebastian and Julian for joining today. I appreciate it. And hopefully we learned a little bit about structures. You can see Beatrix is up to 4 levels now. She's getting hers nice and high. Let's see if any of you guys can beat Beatrix's structure. Sebastian, that's a big problem I have. I like marshmallows too. I just end up eating them. So you have to have a very good supply of marshmallows. This bowl was full before we started this morning, and now they've slowly been eaten. So it's a tasty activity too. All right, thanks everyone for coming today.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day.